Alright guys, I'm back. I am doing a tutorial on Colter Wall's Kate McCannon. The versions that I posted on YouTube, there's two of them. There's one in standard tuning and there's one in a tuning that's basically a half a step up, which is I go to the 3rd fret instead of the 2nd fret on my capo. Real technical. So the song, in as far as tuning goes, it's the typical Colter Wall special where he's got the guitar tuned down a full step, and then he puts the capo back on the 2nd fret to make it standard. The cover versions that I've put on there, as a lot of you have commented on it, is it's basically the Brewery Sessions version is what I started out doing. I wanted to make an exact copy of that, and as I started playing it and singing it, I realized that it was a little bit too fast for the way that I breathe when I sing. I'm not much of a singer, but I do know when I'm running out of breath. And so I had to slow it down a little bit, and so I started to kind of edge back towards the album version. But I really liked some of the things that he was doing in that Brewery Session, so I kind of mixed the two, essentially, is what I did. Didn't start out that way, but that's how it kind of ended up. So what I did was I put an intro in it, which really isn't on the album version. It's not exactly like the Brewery Sessions version because, quite honestly, I couldn't figure it out note for note. But it's pretty darn close. If you want to learn the exact version of the Brewery Sessions, I'm going to give you all of the hammers and pulls and everything. It might be a little bit different tempo, but essentially the bones are here. So I'm going to go through this. This is going to be a bit of a long tutorial, so I apologize for the length, but I want to make sure I'm thorough and you guys are able to pick this thing up. So if you have any comments or questions, just hit me up on the comments. But here we go. So the version of the intro that I did, it's pretty close, but not even really that cool. But you start out in an A minor. And so you'll play the chord, but you'll hammer onto the 1st fret of the B string. That's what starts the whole thing, and he does this a lot in his songs if you're listening for it. And then what I do is I'll walk up the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings in the A minor chord. So it's just like that. And then I'll hit the 1st string a couple more times. And then what I'll do is keeping the A minor chord, I'll play the 3rd string and I'll pull off on that note. So it sounds like this. And then I play the open. And then I return it back down, and this is where I start to transition to the C. So it's going to sound like this. So when I put that back down, I hammered it back down. So it's then you play it again. Then you go up to the 4th string and you release the 2nd fret and play it open. So that's a D note. So from the top. Got that? So then this is really where the transition occurs to C. What I'll do from the top. Hammer in that A minor again on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then you take you start to go towards the C, and you play the 3rd fret of the A string, the 5th string, you're in the C chord. See that? So you go. Down the note. You can I mean, you can arpeggio this thing to death, but I'm playing a pretty simple picking pattern here. I'll go from the top. And then you go into the G, and what I like to do is I like to roll into it from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. And then you hammer on the A, strum it a couple of times, repeat. When he does that transition, he's in the G chord, and he pulls off of the A string with the 2nd on the 2nd fret, and he's playing, and then the 3rd fret, a G note on the E string, and then to the A minor. So I'm going to start this from the top. I'll go real slow. Sorry, start over. Then he does a E and then a hammer on the G and an open A. So back to that little G medley. So there, all I'm doing is going between the G and the A minor, and so I'll pull off. That's that same hammer onto the 1st fret of the B string. Back to the G. That's really it. That's the intro. Sorry, we're 8 minutes in and I'm barely getting through the intro here. But once he does that, he'll go into the strumming pattern, and a lot of it, you know, on the brewery sessions, he's very rigid about his alternating bass. He'll play the A to the E, A to the E, and then, but what I do is I like to kind of play it more like the album version, where it's very faint in the background. If you listen to it and you turn it up, he does these little strums. It's very faint, but they're there. So that's how I tried to do the song. So, kind of going from the end of the intro, I guess. That's basically how I strum this song. It's just very faint. And then with that G, you can go, or you can go, and you can switch it throughout the song. It doesn't really matter, but I think that it adds some kind of flair to it, or some, I don't know, some more emotion to it when you really hit it like a quickly, as opposed to the kind of the that you hear in the album version. All sounds good, but I think switching back and forth kind of keeps the listener interested. And then you start, "The raven is a wicked bird," to the G. "His wings are black as sin." And then you go back to the A minor. and he floats outside my prison window, mocking those within. And then what I do here is I transition to a C, and what he does is he goes to he plays a B note, 2nd fret of the A string, and then goes up. It's kind of a walk up to the C. Mocking those within. And he sings to me real low, then the D minor. It's hell to where you go. So you go from the D minor back to the G, and then when he says hell's where you'll go, he goes to a C, and then he does this alternating. It's hell to where you'll go. So that's a C, and I'm lifting up on the 4th string, and I hammer back down on the 2nd fret. And similar to the way that you walked up to the C earlier, you're going to walk down to the A minor. And that's that same pull-off deal with the G. So back to at the D minor, hell to where you go. For you did murder Kate McCannon. So what he does there is he's walking up the G chord. So he's going from A minor, and he plays an open E, and then 2nd fret, and then 3rd fret. And then he pulls off on the 2nd fret of the A string, plays the G again in the G chord, and then the open A. He just plays a single A minor, then he mutes it, and he stops, and then he starts back in on the A minor. When I first met Tom McCannon, I was working in the mine. Said he had himself dark-haired daughter, long green eyes. And you'll notice that I'm doing that hammer on the 1st fret in the A minor chord quite often throughout the song, and he does it too. You just gotta listen to it. When she and I did meet, she was bathing in the creek. It's that alternating bass again. Prettiest girl in the whole damn holler. G, that ain't no lie. And now what he does is he does this really cool kind of bendy thing on the G and the 3rd fret of the A string. So after he goes, that ain't no lie, he goes back to the A minor, but he goes. So it's open on the E string, then a G, and he kind of bends it down, and then an open A. And he strums it, and then he comes back up, and he does a... So 3rd fret of the A string, so it's a A string, E string, and then he plays an open A. To G. then it's pretty much the same throughout the song. And then when you get to the end, he goes through the, what is that part? Where he puts 3 rounds in her, but let's see here, where do I pick it up? So I made for the creek where she and I did meet. Found her with some other lover. And he gets real quiet. And he just holds the A minor chord. And I put 3 rounds into Kate McCannon. Then he goes to the G. So it's the same thing. I put 3 rounds into Kate McCannon. And if you want, you can do a little different version where you go. So I'll go back through that last part there. When he's kind of doing the A minor strumming, and he progressively gets louder and louder, and he stops and he says, and I put 3 rounds into Kate McCannon. I'm going to play through that again, and I'll try to play a little slower and make sure you're seeing what I'm doing, but it's a lot of the same stuff I've already taught. It's just that it's in a little bit different order, but if you listen to it and you play along with what I'm doing, you should be able to figure it out. So here he goes. And I put 3 rounds into Kate McCannon. So there's all kinds of cool stuff you can do in there, but I think that gives you kind of the kit of parts to put this song together. If you have any comments or questions or anything specific that you want me to go through, hit me up in the comments and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks. Bye.